everyone, it's Amanda, and since it's February, I thought I'd talk about love. Yeah, I did it right this time, kind of. It's actually embarrassing how many times I tried that heart sign with my hands. That does not look right. So like I mentioned earlier, today we're talking about love, but hang on, hold up, we're not talking about romantic love, and I know you were thinking that because Valentine's Day is coming up. Instead, we are talking about how to love yourself better. Oh, how sweet. I want you to think about this for a second. Do you actually love yourself? You're thinking about it? I'm sure the majority of us would say, yeah, of course I love myself, but it would be nicer if I had a different, you fill in the blank. I highly recommend that you go onto her blog and you read the essay, Joanna's Beautiful Smile. Getting darker outside. And then she talks about how she chipped her tooth when she was 7 years old and how that chipped tooth later led to decay. And how that decay later led to a slightly blackened tooth. Since our society is obscenely obsessed with whitening teeth, of course Joanna felt self-conscious when it came to her tooth. But despite her decayed tooth, the #1 compliment that Joanna would get was how beautiful her smile is. Freaking love the last part of her essay. She writes that we tend to notice so much more than other people do. You're taken away by the beauty that you already have. Calm it down on the perfection streak, because to everyone else you are already perfect. So I just want to thank Joanna Parsons for that beautiful essay. You have definitely inspired others. Now it isn't just the physical attributes that we try to hide from other people, it's also internal stuff like insecurities. I read this really great book called The Tools, Transform Your Problems into Courage, Confidence, and Creativity, and by this guy named Phil Stutz. And he talks about a term that psychologist Carl Jung came up with called the shadow. And the shadow is basically an accumulation of everything about you that you don't like about yourself and want to hide from the world. In his book, he talks about how if you can't accept your flaws, you can't flow because you're trying so hard to hide those flaws away from the world and be perfect, which is just not an attainable goal. Now I want you to think about your flaws and what you're hiding and how that might be disrupting your sense of flow. For example, I had to wear this crazy back brace in high school that felt more like a corset, honestly. I wore it underneath my clothes and no one knew about it, but I was just so afraid that people would find out about this back brace. And if they did find out about it, my world would end. And of course that sounds silly now, but it wasn't silly then. So underneath my back brace got really itchy sometimes, and the only way I could stop it from itching was to knock on it. But I wasn't gonna do that at school because then people would know I had a back brace. It got to the point where hiding that back brace and trying to be perfect all the time just got exhausting. So the next time I had an itch, I just knocked on the back brace and it made this hilarious sound that obviously didn't come from my ribs, and this person just turned and was like, what the? And I thought that was hilarious, and suddenly hiding it wasn't such a big deal anymore. I started to have people come up to me and I said, poke my stomach, and they would poke it really hard and hurt their fingers because, you know, I was poking this very hard plastic shell. I just had fun with it. I started to flow. And it was amazing how less stressful life was because I could just be myself and accept my flaws and just be okay with it and keep surviving like everyone else. So now I challenge you to pick a flaw that you have and to not hide it. Then share your experience with us at the BeOKblog@gmail.com. Go get your flow on. Bye. Is that how you do it? I'm no Justin Bieber, but I think I can figure out how to do a love sign with my hand. Romantic love because it's Valentine's Day, but what are we talking about? Because Valentine's Day is coming up soon, next week. That's when 50 Shades of Grey comes out too, and Now I'm sure the majority of us articulate Amanda. Later, and how that decay later led. And since our society is insanely obsessed with I'm spitting. Teeth, of course Joanna felt so self-conscious about her tooth. It's self-conscious. Can you get that? It's the I'm just cracking my back here. My flow. Your sense of flow. Sense of flow. The flow. Plastic corset.